Shwmae pawb, hello everybody, croeso, welcome to my wild Welsh garden. My name's Isabel and this is my garden at the top of the Swansea Valley in South Wales in the UK. And this video is a follow-up to my last one, which was a bit of a break from convention. Yes, I've never made a video like that before. So yeah, thank you for all your lovely comments, which were very heartening. I stopped using music about 18 months ago because I got all mixed up in the whole copyright thing and I just found it very confusing, and I thought, well, I just won't have music on my videos. So that was a departure for me. I had to work out how to use the music on the YouTube library, but that seems to have worked. And also not saying anything, putting everything into little text boxes. And then I started worrying about my friends in Europe, those of you that don't speak English. And I was thinking, well, how are you going to, and this is where the technology defeats me, how are you going to translate the text? So I thought I'd do another video because I also couldn't put everything I want to say into those little text boxes. Yes, I have a lot to say. And so, yeah, this is a follow-up really. This is in a bit more detail, a bit more depth, and I don't know, maybe a bit more controversial, but I hope you enjoy it anyway. It's usually still dark when I come out because I don't sleep well, and by about 6 o'clock, I'm bored. The other day when I made my previous video, it was actually raining. So I just stood in the greenhouse, but today it's dry. And there are robins singing. There's also a blackbird alarming, which probably means there's a marauding cat. I can hear a robin over there. Yes, the robin always starts singing in the dark, and then in the spring gets joined by all the other birds, but usually in the winter he has the stage to himself, but not this morning, getting drowned out by that noisy blackbird. And I'm sure I over-romanticise his song. I'm sure if I could speak Robin, he'd be saying something like, "Keep away all you other male robins, come near me and I'll peck your eyes out." But it just sounds so beautiful to me. There is something about birdsong first thing in the morning, at first light. So sort of pure and clear. And I was going to say simple, but it's not simple at all, is it? It's very complicated. But what is it? It's something about they have no idea what's going on in the world. They don't care. They're just glad that they've lasted through the night and all they want to do is get through another day. That's all they're concerned about. And then I usually sort of walk around the garden really and just look at things. I don't think of what I'm going to do in the garden, what I'm going to, what my projects are next. I just look at things, and of course this morning I filmed them as well. And while I'm sort of wandering around the garden in a peaceful state, I remind myself of why it is that I garden. And I garden because it's an act of defiance really against the horrors of the world. And sometimes it feels, really quite futile that, here I am sowing wildflower seeds while other people's houses, homes and gardens are just being obliterated. But it just seems important to me that in the face of all the destruction that goes on, I'm making something beautiful. But the thing is about making a garden is that it does make a difference. It makes a difference to the creatures that come and share this space with me. And it makes a difference to me. And sometimes it feels like it's a very small difference. Well, usually it feels like it's a very small difference. And I suppose the reason why I'm sharing it on YouTube is that together we can make a big difference. You know, if everybody that had a garden could garden for wildlife and make their spaces places where wildlife can thrive and nature can recover, then we can all together make a big difference. You know, we can help replenish our lands with nature, and we can make our land sing again. And the way that I garden now, by wilding my garden, that's an act of defiance as well against the sort of conventions of gardening that says that nature is something that must be controlled and sort of kept in check. And so I've let the weeds grow, and they haven't taken over the garden. Not yet, anyway. They haven't crowded out the other perennials. In fact, they all seem to be going quite happily together. So while other gardeners are cutting back and weeding and tidying up, getting ready for winter, controlling nature, here am I, letting nature take control and letting her look after the creatures in the way that she knows best, really. And to grow my own vegetables is an act of defiance as well, in the face of the agricultural industry. With its fertilisers and its herbicides and its pesticides, all made from fossil fuels. And the supermarkets that tell us what to eat, with their air miles and their plastic containers and their plastic bags. And I think that to plant permaculture beds is another act of defiance. To grow vegetables in a different way is an act of defiance in the face of the horticultural industry. That's still using peat that degrades our upland peat bogs, and contributes to climate change, and that imports plants and moves plants all around the world, and that regularly brings in new invasive species. I've been finding ghost slugs in my polytunnel. Selenoclamis usprida was named because it was first found in Wales, and uspryd is the Welsh for ghost or spirit. It's a bright white slug that feeds on earthworms, is carnivorous, and has come from Eastern Europe and must have come in the compost in imported plants. So I want to grow vegetables that I can propagate myself, that self-seed, and I can collect the seeds myself. Yes, somebody posted a comment on my video about my permaculture polytunnel when I was sowing these broad beans amongst the strawberries, and I said I'd never not grown broad beans in rows before. Yeah, they did make me laugh. They said something like, you know, here's to broad beans not in rows. And I thought, yes, I've finally broken out of the straitjacket of convention and done something really radical. But it seems to have worked. They've germinated and the sky's not fallen in. So that's why I garden, as an act of defiance in the face of the horrors of the world. There's a well-known quote attributed, I think, to Audrey Hepburn, that to plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow. And Yeah, I'm not sure I can go that far, but I think to plant a garden is definitely to hope for the future. Because to sow a seed or to plant a plant is to be thinking of the future. Because when I'm sowing seeds and planting plants, I'm thinking of the plant that that seed is going to grow into, or the harvest that that plant is going to produce. And with my wildflower seeds and seedlings, I'm thinking of all the native wildlife that these plants are going to support. And so on that positive note, I'll say goodbye from my wild Welsh garden. And thanks for your company. Thanks for joining me. And I do hope you'll come again. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Hwyl fawr!